And meanwhile, Joe Biden is a lion, dog-faced pony soldier, to quote the 46th president of the United States. Yes, Joe Biden is a lion liar who lies. He obfuscates as well. He doesn't have a good relationship with the truth. He's full of balderdash and malarkey. He's a liar, and we've been detailing those lies quite a bit over the last several weeks, months. You know, we've got 50 years of lies to work with. But the latest one that is most important to his political future is this lie that he told over and over and over again in 2019 when he was trying to get the Democrat nomination for president. Understand something. It was a loaded field back in 2020, 2019, when Biden was trying to be the nominee. You had Kamala Harris, you had Elizabeth Warren, you had Bernie Sanders, you had Pete Buttigieg, you had a whole lot of candidates who were well-funded. And Biden, of course, he was old, he was a has-been, he was a joke, he was a punchline. And oh, by the way, his son was involved in a lot of overseas dealings that at the time, even Democrats were openly saying should disqualify him for the presidency. So what did Joe Biden say when faced with this existential threat to his political career, his legacy, and his ability to be president of the United States? He lied. Here's what he said.
How many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period. And what I will do is the same thing we did in our administration. There will be an absolute wall between personal and private and the government.
Do you stand by your statement that you did not discuss any of your son's overseas business dealings?
Yes, I stand by that statement.
He stood by the statement. That's all he could say, right? He had to lie his way through the primary, and he ended up getting the nomination, and he had to continue to lie his way through right up till Election Day. That even after the infamous laptop story broke just about a month before Election Day. He lied, and he harnessed the power of the intelligence community and the FBI and the federal government to lie on his behalf. You'll remember the infamous letter from 51 intelligence community professionals who said that this Hunter Biden laptop has all the earmarks of Russian disinformation. They censored it, they deleted it. If you put it on your Facebook page or on your Twitter feed, you got suspended. And that helped Joe Biden win the White House, where he sits today, overseeing a Justice Department and an FBI that spends most of its time investigating his chief political opponent, Donald Trump. Nothing corrupt about that, right? But let's get back to the lie. Now, there have been many instances over the last several years where this lie that Joe Biden never talked to his son about his business dealings has been completely blown apart. There's audio that was found on Hunter Biden's laptop where you hear Joe Biden leaving a voicemail for his son Hunter, telling him that he had seen a New York Times article about his dealings in China and everything looks okay, you're going to be fine. That's a direct conversation about Hunter Biden's business dealings. We also learned just a couple of weeks ago that Hunter Biden sent a text message to a business associate in China, a business associate connected to the Chinese Communist Party. And in the text message, he said, "I'm sitting next to my father on the sofa right now, and I expect you to wire me millions of dollars." And he did get that wire transfer, by the way, too. But Joe Biden, of course, claims that that wasn't accurate. He's calling his own son a liar, by the way, but that's a whole other story. Well, now we've got the latest revelation that shows that, in fact, yes, Joe Biden was lying, is lying, and will continue to lie about this to save his pathetic political skin. Here's the headline from Miranda Devine at the New York Post. Phone a friend. Hunter got Joe on speaker to impress his clients. Yeah. This is corroborated by Devin Archer, Hunter Biden's former business partner, who testified today, in fact, to the Judiciary and Oversight Committees about this very topic. In fact, the Oversight Committee put out a tweet about it that gives us all the details. Oh yes, with the two red sirens flashing, Joe was on the phone. In at least a dozen instances, Hunter put his father, then vice president, on speakerphone with his overseas business partners. In one instance with Biden associate Devin Archer, two Burisma executives explicitly asked Hunter, "Can you ring your dad?" So Hunter, being the big-time operator, would say, yeah, you betcha, hang on, let me get in. They'd actually get the vice president on the phone, on speakerphone, with the Burisma executives or with the Chinese executives, or whoever he was entertaining, for the 17 to maybe upward $25 million he made during those 8 years. And Joe Biden's voice was heard on the speakerphone, talking to his son about his son's business. It's lies. It's all lies. And frankly, if we can go back and look at the video of Joe Biden on the campaign trail in 2019, I want you to look at his eyes. Because they say that the eyes are a window to the soul. They say that when someone's lying to you, if you really focus, you can see it in their eyes that they're lying to you. So I want you to look at Joe Biden's eyes when he lies. Take a look.
But you, on the other hand, sent your son over there to get a job and work for a gas company that he had no experience with. That's nothing. In order to get access to the president. So you're selling access to the president just like he is. So
You're a damn liar, man. That's not true. And no one has ever said that. No one has heard that.
I see it on the TV.
You see it on the TV. No, I know you do. And by the way, that's why I'm not sedentary. I don't like to get up and let it go. Let it go. Look, the reason I'm running is because I've been around a long time and I know more than most people know. And I can get things done. That's why I'm running. And you want to check my shape on, let's do push-ups together, man. Let's run. Let's do whatever you want to do. Let's take my Number two, no one has said my son has done anything wrong, and I did not on any occasion. And no one has ever said it. Now,
I didn't say you were doing anything wrong.
You said I set up my son to work in an oil company. Isn't that what you said? Get your words straight, Jack.
That's what I hear on MSNBC.
Oh, you don't hear that on MSNBC. You did not hear that at all. What you heard? Look, okay, I'm not going to get an argument with you, man.
Well, I don't want to either.
Well, yeah, you do, but look, here's the deal. Here's the deal.
Yeah, that's enough. I'm not going to get into an argument with you. After shouting at him, calling him a liar, challenging him to an IQ test, challenging him to a push-up test, calling him fat and calling him too old. That's how an innocent man behaves, isn't it? You know how I know the walls are closing in on Joe Biden and his lies right now? Well, just look at Chris Christie yesterday when challenged on this issue.
So many legal issues in this campaign, and I want to ask you about one involving the president's son, Hunter Biden, who's going to appear in court this week to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges and will enter into an agreement that could avert conviction on a gun-related charge. The deal has infuriated many congressional Republicans who are holding their own hearings, and I wonder, after this plea happens, if you would advise your party to move on.
No, I wouldn't, Margaret, and here's why. The conduct here by the U.S. Attorney in Delaware and by the Justice Department, it just can't be justified. It doesn't take 5 years, Margaret. As you mentioned, I was the U.S. Attorney in the 5th largest office in the country for 7 years during the Bush administration. It does not take 5 years to investigate 2 misdemeanor tax counts and to dismiss a gun charge. And we need to know what they were investigating and why these are the charges they concluded to. This is not just any person. This is the son of the President of the United States. And while justice needs to be equal, it needs to be equal. And it doesn't appear to me that this is the way to do it. And I would say one thing on the gun charge. I mean, this is a case where Democrats yell and scream for more new gun laws in the country, yet you hear no Democrat yelling about the fact that Hunter Biden intentionally lied on his gun.
That is something else. You know, Chris Christie is usually one of those Democrats who's constantly defending the Justice Department. He's an apologist for these guys. He'll always find a reason to protect his friends in the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Joe Biden, when you've lost a stalwart Democrat defender like I'm sorry, what? Wait, he's a Republican? Oh. I regret the error, but you understand the point. There's more to come on O'Connor Tonight.